Hi everyone, you're listening to the Health and Wellbeing podcast. I'm Alison Mitchell, a practicing naturopath, and you can find me on naturopathnsw.com.au. So, what can people do if their sleep sucks?
Lots. So, getting a good sleep routine and working on sleep hygiene are huge when it comes. It amazes me how many people have poor sleep, and when you speak to them about what they do before bed, they get home from work, cook dinner, watch TV, do work, go back to work on the computer, get into bed and expect to fall asleep. And how is that ever going to happen? It's just...
You'd be like...
yeah, your mind is on and you're not giving yourself any time to wind down. And if we think about the olden days, I know it's not the olden days anymore, but if we think about the olden days, we would wake up with the sun, and then when it got dark, we didn't have all of this electricity and artificial light, so we would go to sleep. So, and things would gradually wind down. So as the sun was going down, we might be having our dinner or cleaning up or whatever, and then you'd slowly wind down. And now it's like we think, switch the light off and we're done. And I think we need to get back into that slowly winding down and getting into a pattern. So
it's a lot to ask of our bodies, isn't it? Just to switch off.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just turn the PowerPoint off? Yeah. So
Although sometimes I feel like that happens.
Yeah, I do, because I don't have any problem with sleep. I recommend trying to have dinner at least 2 hours before bed, so that your digestion has finished, or you've done your digestion, and then you can go to sleep. So if we're trying to go to sleep when we're still digesting, we're not going to get into that good quality sleep. So try and leave, and it's, I know it's not always possible if we're trying to get to bed around 10 o'clock. So do the best you can, minimum of 1 hour. Or if you do have to go to bed close to bedtime, try and eat something that's easy to digest. So something, I always think fish, if you're going to go for an animal protein. And, not having things like pasta or something that's going to be harder to break down, or like a big steak might be a little bit much if you're going to bed quickly. And then taking time to actually wind down and have a bit of a routine. So maybe you would want to do, depends on how bad the sleep is, but maybe some meditation, maybe some deep breathing before bed, and trying to go to bed at the same time every night.
Yeah, actually like training your body. And that's what you do with young ones, because you have a routine. So it makes sense that we as adults would also respond to that. And it's more so not for training ourselves to go, okay, this is bedtime, but to actually get that hormonal response happening, to the sleepy hormones to peak at the time that we want them to.
And like you said, expose yourself to daylight in the daytime, in the morning, but then again, dim light at nighttime. So I don't like overhead lights at night. I like just to use lamps to keep the lighting fairly low, so the body does know, even 3 hours before bed, the body knows that it's nighttime.
Yeah, and that blue light from your gadgets and your computer screens and your TV screens, try and avoid them for at least the hour before bed. If you absolutely can't do that, though, there are things that you can get into, like there's an app you can get for all your computers as well called F.lux, or it's just, the website is just get F.lux. And what that will actually do is it will adjust the screen tone so that it's warmer when the sun sets and then brighter when the sun rises. And you can switch it off so that if you have to do any sort of color dependent computer work, you shouldn't be working at night time. You can switch it off for an hour or so. Alternatively, you can get super cool orange or amber colored glasses. So that stops that blue light from affecting. So the orange light stimulates your melatonin and the blue light suppresses it. So we want to try and tweak that.
Yeah, nice. Stimulants as well, we haven't spoken about. So things like coffee or energy drinks, we don't want to be having them in the evening, because that could interrupt our sleep or make our sleep not happen.
And everyone's different in terms of how much that will actually affect them. But some people find that they need to be completely avoiding caffeine from 2 o'clock onwards. Because if you have a slow detoxification of caffeine, then that's going to be staying in your system for a longer period.
Yeah.
And someone who has a fast detoxification.
Yes.
Also on what you're talking about with foods as well, I think, so definitely don't eat too soon before bed, but don't be too hungry. sometimes if you are under eating or you're on a diet, or in particular the low carb diets, I find that can affect people's sleep. So you might want to try, if you're having some sleep issues, just having a little bit more carbohydrates before bed. And that's like root vegetables, starchy veggies in particular is the best forms. And one of the ways that works is that it's tweaking that tryptophan amino acid, which is used as the precursor to make your melatonin. So having a bit more carbs just helps to supply the tryptophan. But similarly, avoid just balancing your type of meat that you're having, so that you're not having too many of the muscle meats like your chicken breast or your steak. Have more of the higher glycine containing meats like ossobuco or beef cheek, like the gelatinous cuts, because they have higher glycine in them, and so that doesn't compete with your tryptophan as much. And the other one's alcohol. Now, how many people do we know that have a glass of wine to wind down at night to help them sleep? But in a lot of the times, this can actually be causing you sleep problems, and you tend to be more restless and feel more unrefreshed the next day as well. So it may be worthwhile just having a few nights throughout the week where you're actually trialing avoiding wine or whatever you're drinking, just to see how it actually affects your sleep. And nicotine is going to be affecting your sleep too.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about getting to bed at the right time, I think so. The thing I usually recommend for that is work out when you need to get up and then count 8 hours backwards. Because if you actually say to yourself, all right, I'm going to bed at 10:30 tonight, then if you're sort of just watching TV and like a show that comes on and you're sort of saying, I'm going to go to bed at a decent time or at this approximate time or whatever, then you can say, oh, I'll just watch this one more show or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sort of helps you to be a bit stricter.
Get the cut-off time. And if you're going to bed now at midnight and you're learning from this interview that you need to start going to bed earlier, it helps, I often find, to wind back in 15-minute blocks. So tonight go at 11:45, maybe do that for a couple of days, and 11:30, and slowly wind back so that you're not suddenly going from midnight to 10 and then getting to bed and going, oh, I can't sleep, because your body is programmed to be going to bed at midnight. So slowly wind it back. But it is, the textbook recommendation is to try to go to bed at 10 and wake up at 6. Now that's, that's not going to work for me because I work until 8 o'clock at night. By the time I've had, or I get home at 8, by the time I've had dinner, it's 9. So I'm not going to be going to bed at 10 o'clock. So we've got to make it so that it fits with our modern lifestyle. But it's really, I really try to emphasize, try and be asleep by 11 if you can, because your adrenals do their repair between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. So we really want to get you asleep before 11 p.m. if possible.
Yep. Because you've got to allow for that time where you actually fall asleep.
Yeah.
So just getting to bed by 11 may not cut it.
Yeah.
Unless you're one of those people that could just go.
Yeah.
Just going back to what we were talking about before with the mindfulness and the meditation, I think that's really helpful for a lot of people. And what a lot of the studies have found is that the sleep hygiene often isn't enough, and so you need to have some sort of cognitive behavioural work alongside it. And so mindfulness and meditation can be part of that. So I think set aside 15 minutes or so in the early part of the evening to write down any worries that you have, or make a list of things that you're thinking that you might need to do the next day. But that's only necessary if those sorts of thoughts are keeping you up. You don't have to write lists. And if these thoughts come back to you while you're trying to sleep, just say to yourself, now is not the time to think about these things. This has already been done. It's already addressed. Now is not a helpful time to think about that, and just try and wipe your mind clear. Think about your mind like a blackboard or a computer screen where you just sort of wipe, and then repeat that process as each new thought comes back. And the thing about mindfulness is that it brings you out of the past or the future and brings you into the present, where we tend to be less judgmental about things, and where worry and anxiety happens less in the present. It's more so in the past or the future. So the mindfulness is really important. And you don't have to do a 15-20 minute meditation. Even just 1 minute of meditation before you try and fall asleep can be really helpful.
Yeah, or breathing. I find, if people don't know how to meditate, just concentrating on their breathing is a meditation.
Yeah, exactly. Meditation is comes in so many different formats, and breathing is just so fantastic. And like even just going through and concentrating on relaxing different parts of your body, or you can listen to a tape or something that gives you a guided meditation as well. That helps a lot of people to concentrate.
Yeah, and where you said with writing the thoughts down, I find with those people who can't sleep because of the circling thoughts, once they write it down, usually I get people to keep the notepad by the bed, so if it happens and they can write it down straight away, that usually gets it out of their head so that they can. It's awesome. It's amazing. It's just like, okay, it's on the paper now. Now I can think about it tomorrow.
I think KKK have a little notebook that's called 3 a.m.
Oh, do they? That's awesome.
Must be specifically for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now they'll be KKK are going to run out. Their sales are going to skyrocket.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about sleep debt as well. So what you were saying about how like you want to sort of work backwards, it's sort of along those lines as well. But sleep debt is basically like you build up this backlog of tiredness that you then need to burn off at nighttime. And so for some people, they may need to do a bit more exercise in the day or be more active in the day so that they can actually build up that sleep debt more, because if you don't have a big enough sleep debt, then you're going to be too energetic to get to sleep at the right time. But similarly, if you're overtired and you have too much sleep debt, then that can affect you as well. So it's a little bit of a tricky balance working on it. So for some people, napping can be good, but sometimes napping can be bad as well. So you have to play around with it and figure out what works for you, or talk to a practitioner who can help you. They can usually sort of figure out from what you're saying as well what you need to do. And then the other thing that naturopaths always look at doing with people when they're coming in for sleep issues is addressing stress in the day. So this is like the major thing that we often look at, apart from your sleep hygiene as well. So it's really important, because if you're not so stressed during the day, then your sleep isn't going to be as much of a problem at night time.
Yeah, if you know how to manage your stress.
Yeah.
And
there's so much that can be done.
Yeah, definitely. It's and it just goes to show how complex this whole area of sleep is, and insomnia. It's not just can't fall asleep. There's so many different things to be looking at.
Yeah. So I guess if you're worried that you're stressed, then you could consider getting a cortisol test, which will tell you if your stress hormones are affecting your sleep. And then there's herbs that you can use to support stress as well. Like we said as well, the mindfulness and the meditation can be really helpful, and you don't just have to do it before you go to bed. You can do it throughout the day as well. Deal with stress in the day. Really important.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing I just remembered that I always think is important for sleep is to have a nice bedroom. If your bedroom is full of clutter and it's messy and dirty and you don't really like it very much, then why would you want to go there and spend 8 hours of your life? Yeah. So I think it's really a nice thing to do to make sure that your bedroom is decluttered. I do not like televisions in the bedroom. I think that the bedroom is for sleep and sex. You don't have televisions in the bedroom. So have it as a nice, relaxing, nice lamps, nice bedding, and have it as an inviting environment where you're just going to feel relaxed, and it's a zen zone.
Yeah, and also having the right colours in the bedroom. So if you're having very stimulating colours, then that's probably not going to be conducive for sleep.
Yep.
So like orange and reds and things like that, maybe not so great. They're better for your kitchen.
Yeah.
So do you use a lot of supplements in your clinic when you're treating people with sleep problems?
I will usually use, there's a couple that I really like. I use on myself and with my patients a magnesium supplement that's got sour cherry in it as well as the magnesium. So magnesium helps to relax the nervous system and relax the muscles. And the sour cherry has natural melatonin in it. So it helps with so I did my adrenal stress profile, and my cortisol was pretty high in the morning, indicating that my sleep wasn't that great. And I think I know what it is, but it's not maybe me that's disturbing my sleep. It might be my partner.
That's something we should have mentioned in what to do, like factors that can affect your sleep. It's snoring partners.
Yeah. So
send them to a naturopath.
Yeah, I give him the powder as well. So what I'm trying to do with the magnesium powder is relax the nervous system and get the melatonin happening. So get the melatonin there so our body knows that it's sleep time. That one is lovely. It works
That one
really
contains
well.
lactium as well,
It
doesn't it?
does, which gives you that drunk, sleepy feeling.
Yeah, which is so that's derived from milk, and it's often like the property in milk that people are sort of finding helps them when they have a glass of warm milk before bed, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Mm.
And then obviously herbal medicines. So
Mm.
there, I use the herbs and the that magnesium, and I find they're such a lovely
Mm.
combination.
Mm. There's also L-theanine, which has just become a bit more out there at the moment, which is derived from green tea, and that's really helpful in helping to sort of stop that racing mind as well. And you can take that a little bit beforehand, and then if you feel like you still need something by the time it's bedtime, then you can take a bit of stronger herbs or something along those lines.
And the bark flower white chestnut for unresolved circling thoughts.
Yes, I use that too.
Yeah, I pop it in the herb mixture if I'm using the liquid herbs, and
Oh
that
yeah.
works really nicely.
And with the magnesium thing as well, so magnesium is probably my go-to, but there are some people that do need a bit of calcium alongside it, and that can be because like you might need more calcium. But I find that if you're deficient in magnesium, then you don't take the calcium alongside it. Whereas if you're deficient in the calcium, then you do need a bit of magnesium alongside it. And so if you're getting restless legs and things like that, or like leg cramps throughout the night, depending on the nature of the cramps, that can sort of steer you in the right direction. So usually a practitioner would be able to advise you on what will be the most helpful for you. So some other factors that can affect your sleep, apart from your snoring partner, which potato can be really helpful for, and same with sleep apnea. So doing some potato breathing throughout the day, 5 minutes at least 3 times a day, can help with snoring and sleep apnea, and also stress, which we know affects sleep too. But while we're not going to go into them, restless leg syndrome, chronic pain, menopause, all these sorts of things can affect your sleep. So you want to deal with those sorts of issues if they're happening. So if you haven't listened already, check out our menopause podcast, and all of these things. I'd suggest seeking help from a health practitioner, because you can really address it. So what's your favourite herbs for sleep?
Passion flower, I love. A really simple formula that I started using a long time ago was just passion flower and withania. So I used it on myself. I like to experiment on myself. And I was at work one afternoon and I mixed myself this little shot of passion flower and withania. And I got home and I was sitting down eating my dinner, and this wouldn't happen to everyone, but I started falling asleep eating my dinner, and I forgot that I'd taken the
Did you
herb.
fall into your
I
plate?
was, yeah. I was just nodding off. And I thought, what's going on? What's wrong with me? Because I would never normally fall asleep eating dinner. And then I remembered that I'd mixed this little shot of herbs. So that then became my go-to. Now I'll do it. Now, obviously, I prescribe, depending on the patient, Ziziphus as
Love
well.
Sisyphus. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's
that's one
really
of my
good.
favorites.
Yeah, sleep maintenance. That's a really good one for sleep maintenance and for getting the sleep cycle right. So, a long-term use of Ziziphus has been shown to actually change the sleep cycle and improve the sleep cycle, which is nice. I always say to my patients, sleep herbs, unlike what it did for me, they're not generally going to make you fall asleep. It's not like taking a sleeping tablet where you're not going to be able to keep your eyes open. They settle the body to allow you to fall asleep.
And generally, they won't make you feel groggy the morning after as well, which most conventional sleeping medications will do, which is what people come to us for, is because they can't function without sleep, but then they can't function with the medications that they're taking for their sleep as well.
Yeah.
Kava is one of my favorites as well, and I use that in the tablet form, but that in like the water extract tablet, and I find that's really good just for giving people a bit more zen, and the more you take, the stronger the effect. But for some people, I have actually found that can make them a little bit more groggy than the morning after, but again, it depends on the person.
Yeah, I can't take valerian. I can't use valerian. It gives me headaches.
Yeah, well, that was something I wanted to cover as well as the idiosyncratic effect with valerian, and this is something that people find is that sometimes when they take valerian, it can make them more agitated, or they can get a headache or something like that, whereas it should be making you feel chill. In some people, it has the opposite effect, but there is Mexican valerian, which is a different form that doesn't have that effect. And then looking at herbs like the sour cherry to help with your melatonin, but chaste tree can be helpful as well in boosting melatonin. Melatonin is amazing. It's an antioxidant. It's helpful for breast health and all sorts of things. So we definitely want to be looking after it, our levels. And then addressing the stress through the day with stress herbs throughout the day, really important. Yeah. And then your nutrients that you need throughout the day as well.
Yeah, some people it might be that they need a B vitamin during the day to help. Yeah. So,
which you wouldn't want to necessarily take before bed, because then like the vitamin B6 can give you really vivid dreams.
Yeah.
Any other herbs that you love for sleep?
I like doing teas, obviously. So teas with passion flower, lavender, chamomile are really nice. I can drink quite a bit of tea before bed and it doesn't affect my sleep, as in needing to get up to do a wee, but some people might need to be careful of how much they drink before bed, because we don't want it to end up interrupting their sleep. But maybe an hour or so before bed, just sitting down and having a cup of a nice relaxing tea, that's a nice way to go as well. And the lavender, I love lavender oil as well on your pillow or on a tissue by the bed, or in a diffuser might be nice. Or massaging it into the body or into the temples. Yeah, that's nice and relaxing.
That sounds lovely. So that's a awesome bit of information about sleep. I think that if you're continuing to have problems after you've tried to incorporate some of these things, then definitely see a practitioner. And most of the time, if you address your sleep hygiene and you deal with your stress during the day, then sleep does improve. But for people who have got really chronic sleep issues, it can take a long time. So be patient and keep working on it, because your sleep is precious and it's very important.
Yeah.
So thanks everyone for listening today. If you enjoyed listening, then please leave us a review on iTunes, and you can find me on naturopathnsw.com.au, and you can find Laura on burtonhealth.com.au as well, and all our social media links are on there too. So thank you everyone, and see you later.
Bye.